Hello Pokemon trainers! Welcome back to another Pokemon TCG Pocket video here on iStarly TV. I am back after another long hiatus. I know I'm the worst at keeping up with posting. I've just been super busy with work, but also on top of that, the most recent meta, for like the past month, it was just the deluxe packs. So I haven't found the meta to be super interesting. So I honestly hadn't played quite as much lately. I've been playing, but just anyway. So couple excuses out of the way, let's get to the new set. Let's just kind of jump right into it. So the new set is coming out tomorrow, technically tonight as of the making of this video, so you'll probably see this video maybe just a little bit, just like a couple hours before the new set actually drops. And it's a really exciting set. Of course, the set leaked online early, so let's just get to some new decks. This is a trend that I like to do with each new set, is post a video where I make decks with the new cards so we can kind of brainstorm ideas, and you can maybe build these right off the bat if you open the cards and have fun with it. And this is definitely a very exciting set. So with that intro out of the way, let's just jump right into the decks here. So the first is a Mega Altaria deck. Now I will say my decks in this video, I do have an honorable mention as well, but I tried not to build too many decks with like Pokemon that look like they're obviously going to be meta. I try to mix things up. Of course, I like having fun when I build decks and trying unique cards. Mega Altaria already looks like a really strong Pokemon, so I'm sure a lot of people will find a really powerful deck with it. I didn't want to make decks with only the Mega Pokemon, so this is my only deck that features a Mega Pokemon. But Altaria's main theme is it does 40 damage for 2 Psychic Energy, and it does 30 more damage for each of your benched Pokemon. So it's really like a mini Arceus. It can set up a lot easier because it only requires 2 energy instead of 3. Of course, the floor is a lot lower though. Like it does less damage right out the gate. But if you have a full bench, it does do 130 damage, which of course is comparable to Arceus. So, 30 for each bench Pokemon, again, that's 30 times 3, which is 90, plus 40, that is 130. So, what we are looking at here is, obviously with Mega Altaria, you want to fill your bench. It really looks like there's a lot of ways to do it, and something that you'll notice, something I actually noticed in looking at all of these decks, is we are playing a lot of Sylveon EX. Sylveon EX is back. We have a brand new Eevee card, which is broken. Surprise, surprise, the Eevees are broken in this game. This is an Eevee with 50 HP, and it has an ability that's called Boosted Evolution. As long as this Pokemon is in the active spot, it can evolve during your first turn or the turn you play it. So basically with this Eevee, you can simply jump right into Sylveon right away and draw those 2 cards, which is of course something that you want to be doing with Mega Altaria EX. You want to have a lot of cards available to you, play a lot of Pokemon on your bench, so that you can do a lot of damage as quickly as possible. And Sylveon of course can also attack for 70, which is not a little bit. Another new Pokemon here is Indeedee EX. I bet if you asked a million people who they thought would get a new EX card in the new set, 0 of them would say Indeedee. But yeah, Indeedee EX is also looking like a really powerful card. It's got an ability, and once each turn you can heal 20 damage from your active Pokemon. Notably, Indeedee itself does not need to be the active Pokemon, so Indeedee can be on your bench and heal whoever your active Pokemon is, and it does not even need to be a Psychic Pokemon that you're healing. So you could theoretically play Indeedee in just about any deck if you wanted to, simply for the repeatable potion effect, which sounds like a really interesting idea. I mean, it's possible this could be like something of a counter to Greninja, which a lot of people have been hating recently, so really interesting stuff here. And then I do have 1 copy of Giratina EX. I mean, sorry, Giratina is not dead yet. It's still very good. But really, there's so many options you can play in this deck. You can play some baby Pokemon, which are really... I've been playing some decks with Arceus, and when you play a lot of baby Pokemon with Arceus, it just makes it so that you're pretty much always filling your bench. So you're always doing that maximum damage with Arceus. So, of course, the same is true with Mega Altaria. There's also a new Klefki card, which is basically like a Guzma on a body, but of course in order to use it you have to discard Klefki, but that could be a really interesting card. If the meta is very tool heavy, Klefki can definitely be a pretty good card to play. And then again, there's just so many options. The goal with Mega Altaria is to fill your bench, draw a lot of cards. There's a lot of ways you can do that. So this is just one idea for how to build a deck like this. As far as new cards, honestly, the rest of the deck is not playing new cards aside from Altaria and Indeedee EX. But again, I do think that this deck has so much potential simply because Mega Altaria looks really good. The next deck is the deck I'm most excited for. This is Hydreigon. I don't know if it's Hydreigon or Hydreigon. I'm going to say Hydreigon. I apologize if that's annoying to you. I know how it feels to hear someone mispronounce something and get annoyed by it, so I apologize. Hydreigon is one of my favorite Pokemon of all time. It's probably one of my top 10 favorite Pokemon. Definitely my favorite Gen 5 Pokemon. And I was so excited to see that. Not only is it getting a new card, I mean, it's not an EX, but that's actually possibly a good thing. It's getting a really strong card. Hydreigon has a really powerful ability. It's like a super Giratina, kind of. Once during your turn, you may take 2 dark energy from your energy zone and attach it to this Pokemon. If you do 30 damage to this Pokemon. So basically this can set itself up immediately because you know, whatever turn it is, you just put an energy on Hydreigon and then use the ability to put 2 more, and then you're attacking for 130. Now, importantly, the move Hyper Ray requires 3 energy. It does 130 damage, and it says discard all energy from this Pokemon. So notably, you are going to be using that ability Roar in unison every turn, which means you're going to be dealing 30 damage to yourself every turn. So my thought process with building a Hydreigon deck is to put a lot of healing in the deck. I do apologize in advance. As you'll notice, we are playing 2 copies of the new Eevee and 2 copies of Sylveon. Although I'm going to be completely honest, when I first read the Eevee card, I did kind of miss that the Eevee has to be in the active spot. Although that's probably fine. That's actually probably fine. If anything, that's probably better because you would probably prefer to have Hydreigon on the bench until it's ready to attack. And then maybe you could play X Speed or Leaf to retreat the Sylveon later on. So I still think it's an okay idea. Maybe you could play like 1 copy of an Umbreon in the deck, either EX or non-EX. I think Umbreon EX could actually be an interesting one here. But really my thought process is you just want to play Hydreigon, you want to play a lot of healing, and then beyond that point, I mean, I don't really know what else. There's a lot of options. Similar to the Altaria deck, this is just kind of like a guideline deck. This is probably what I'm going to start with personally, but obviously there's so many Dark-type Pokemon you could play, so many good Dark-type Pokemon you could play. The obvious one that comes to mind is Darkrai EX, which is, you know, obviously a really, really strong card, and it has been for almost a year now. And the reason I didn't put Darkrai in this deck is because it feels like there's too much tension with the energy. Like, the goal with this deck is to attack every turn with Hydreigon, which it can fuel itself, of course. And if you're doing that, you know, Hydreigon's a pretty energy-intensive card, so it felt in my mind like it was going to be rare that we would be putting Dark Energy on Darkrai. But maybe having Darkrai just as like a safety valve, as a backup game plan, is not a bad idea. But of course, once again, you're discarding energy from Hydreigon every single turn. So if you want to keep attacking with it, you have to be putting the energy on it. So I don't know. We'll see how it plays out. Another thought that sounds kind of fun is Hydreigon with Tyranitar. The Tyranitar, I think, from Wisdom of Sea and Sky. Tyranitar can do 130 damage for, I think, 4 energy. But it has an ability where it can basically take all darkness energy from all of your Pokemon and put it onto itself. I feel like that's just a more roundabout way of just doing Hydreigon. Like, yeah, Hydreigon's taking damage, but, like, it's fine. I think I would love to play that deck, but they're both stage 2s, so I don't think that works the way I want it to. As for the rest of the cards, we've got, you know, Pokeball, Research, unsurprising. 2 copies of Lily, which heals Hydreigon, of course, which is great. 2 copies of Giant Cape, because, again, just having more longevity for Hydreigon is good. And then we have 1 Repel, 1 Cyrus, and 2 Rare Candy. Of course, Rare Candy is mandatory. The other 2 cards, the Repel and the Cyrus, and even though maybe like 1 copy of Giant Cape, those are kind of like flex slots. You know, depending on what the meta is looking like, you can play different things in place of those. You could play Guzma if you feel like that's going to be relevant. You could play X Speed or Leaf. You could play Potion. I think there's a lot of options for that, but where I would start personally, obviously 2 copies of Dino, 2 copies of Hydreigon. You need 2 copies of Rare Candy, and then from there, I mean, you know, Pokeball, Research, Lily, And then I'm personally going to play Eevee with Sylveon, but, you know, like I said, we can see how it plays out. But because Hydreigon is one of my favorite Pokemon, I'm going to be aiming to build a Hydreigon deck first and foremost. So I think Hydreigon is found in the Gyarados pack, I believe. So I'm going to be opening Gyarados packs like crazy. And then real quick, we have another deck. This is a Ludicolo deck. Ludicolo kind of looked interesting to me, so let's kind of read Ludicolo here. Of course, it is a Stage 2, and of course I'm playing Suicune EX, which, if you're looking at this, I'm playing a Stage 2 and I'm playing Suicune EX, so you're probably asking, why aren't you just playing, you know, Greninja? And by the way, there's an EX Greninja in this set as well, so it's probably the case that those Pokemon are just better for a Suicune deck. But we want to try some new cards here, right? Everyone knows Greninja and Suicune is really, really powerful together. So we want to try some new things out. So we have Ludicolo here, 140 HP. Has a move called Rhythmic Steps for 2 water energy. If you have exactly 1, 3, or 5 cards in your hand, this attack does 60 more damage. So if you have, and that's a really weird effect. If you have exactly 1, 3, or 5 cards, you're doing 120 damage for 2 energy. That is very powerful. Now, how consistent it's going to be to actually achieve that, we're not too sure yet. Obviously, you need to start with Lotad, Ludicolo, and Rare Candy, but Suicune, of course, draws you a lot of cards. So I want to play this deck with like a good amount of card draw, as well as like a good amount of like tools or items. Not as many supporters. I mean, we are playing definitely some supporters, but we're not trying to play too many supporters because we want to be able to have the option of playing multiple cards in a turn if we need to. Like if we get to a point where we have 7 cards in hand, you know, we want to be able to play 2 cards from our hand. If we have 1 card in hand, we want to hope that it's some kind of card advantage like research or something to get us up in cards. I guess that wouldn't get us up to 3, but either way, yeah, I just wanted to try this out. It could end up being the case. Like, when I saw this card, it looked weird, but also I was like, oh, you might be able to kind of control how many cards you have. It might end up being the case that you don't. Like, in practice, maybe it's really hard to ensure you have 1, 3, or 5 cards in your hand, which makes this card really bad, but I definitely wanted to try it out. So if I open a couple copies of Ludicolo, I will be playing this. Another Stage 2 water type that looks really good that I wanted to try out is Caracosta. Which has an ability, or rather an attack for 100 damage, 3 energy. Prevent all damage done to this Pokemon by attacks from basic Pokemon during your opponent's next turn. So this one is interesting because basically if this was printed in the previous meta, it would be probably a tier 1 Pokemon. It would probably be, I don't know about broken, but so many of the current decks that exist have a bunch of basic Pokemon. There's Suicune, there's Giratina, there's Darkrai, there's Oricorio, Raikou, Tapu Koko, you know, etc. I mean, there's so many. Darkrai, Giratina, there's so many basic Pokemon in the meta right now. But of course, with this set, we are getting EXs, and there are some basic EXs, but a lot of them are evolutions. So this card might not be quite as good, depending on what the meta looks like. But Caracosta also gets its own supporter, which is, what's his name? The guy, I think is it Marlin? Yeah, Marlin. And he heals 70 damage from Caracosta, so that could be interesting. So I am going to favor Ludicolo for now, and again, I'm fully aware that Ludicolo might end up being really bad. If you have any suggestions for these decks, let me know in the comments. But next, let's throw my honorable mention into the mix. This is a deck that I really liked when, I think it was the Wisdom of Sea and Sky set came out, and with Will. This is an Alolan Executor deck with Will. The goal is to use Will to guarantee you're hitting for 150 damage with Alolan Executor. And of course, that's a natural counter to something like Oricorio. With that, we are also playing Leafeon EX as well as Sylveon EX. And we're playing the new Eevee, which is really OP because, of course, the new Eevee can evolve automatically. So if you can evolve Eevee into Leafeon like right away, then you can start using Leafeon's ability, which is really, really powerful. And kind of the way we're trying to set this up is we're trying to put extra energy onto Alolan Executor so that we can go into Alolan Executor and do 150 damage. That's like really the goal that we're aiming for here, and the new Eevee facilitates that pretty nicely. And another way that we're facilitating that is with another new card, Lycia, which is a supporter card. And Lycia says, let me pull it up here, put 2 random basic Pokemon with 50 HP or less from your deck into your hand. And the beautiful thing is this new Eevee card and Execute both have 50 HP. So this lets you draw 2 of those Pokemon. It's like a super Pokeball, basically, which is really, really powerful, because being able to grab those Eevees out of your deck, almost guaranteed. I mean, depending on what you've drawn earlier, that could be a 50-50. That's amazing, because again, one of the goals with this deck is to play Leafeon as soon as possible and start putting energy onto Exeggutor. We're also, of course, playing 1 copy of Sylveon EX because it's Sylveon EX. I guess it's possible you could play, if you want to go all in on Leafeon, putting Grass Energy on things, because Execute also does that. It puts Grass Energy on itself. It is possible you could play Psychic Energy in the deck, only Psychic Energy, or you could play both Psychic Energy and Grass Energy, just so that you have a chance for Sylveon to attack. It's worth trying out. In the past, when I've played a deck like this, I did play both energy types, so I'm definitely going to be trying this deck out, because when I played it in the past, it was a lot of fun. And just having Leafeon set up Exeggutor, and Leafeon's also able to do some decent damage by itself, is really cool, and it's a lot of fun, and Will is a fun card. You know, we're playing 2 copies of Leafcate. I would say everything else is kind of like flexible. We have 2 copies of Professor's Research, which is, you know, kind of a requirement, I guess you could say. 1 copy of Erica, 1 copy of Repel. Again, those are some flex slots as well. You might notice I'm not playing Pokeball in the deck. I just kind of went for Lycia over Pokeball. I felt like if we were playing both, there are going to be a lot of cases where we use Lycia early or use Pokeball early, and then we basically get to a point where we have Lycia or Pokeball in our hand, and we have nothing left in our deck to grab with them. So maybe that's a fine problem to have. Like, I just didn't want that to be the case, and I definitely wanted to try this new card out, so I'm favoring her over Pokeball. It could be just the most wrong thing in the world to not be playing copies of Pokeball, but I know there have been some decks in the past that did not play Pokeball, like Rampardos decks and stuff like that. So yeah, that's the honorable mention deck, and probably one of the decks where, I mean, this deck doesn't really require too many new things. All you need is Lycia, really. So, and the Eevee, which is going to be easy. I'm sure you'll open a lot of those. So yeah, this is like the easiest deck to build if you've been playing for a little while, and you don't want to worry about grabbing new EXs like Mega Altaria, or grabbing the new Hydreigon card, which is like probably a 3-diamond card. So yeah, these are my new decks for the new set. I'm really excited for this set. One piece of bad news that I heard that makes me really sad is, in fact, that I think they've said that the new ranked season is not going to start until the end of November, which is really weird to me. So that's kind of sad, but you know, obviously we can still play online in casual matches and maybe tournaments and stuff. So I don't know. It's sad that, you know, I guess it gives us time to build these decks as well. So maybe I'll check in closer to that time as well. I'll be posting videos as well once the new set drops. Once I open some packs, I'll start making more gameplay videos like I used to, because I'm really excited for this set, and I'm really excited for, hopefully the Hydreigon deck is good. If it is, I'm going to be so happy. But let me know in the comments what you think of my decks. How would you make them better? And also, what are you excited to build with the new set? I will post a link down below to the full set release, or the full set, you know, so you can see all of the cards for yourself. If you're interested, I guess spoilers, should have said that at the beginning. Have a great one, and good luck on your openings.